Sairam and welcome to a fresh new cup of chai with Sai. Today we have with us two guests who will be able to give you two different perspectives on a subject. We have with us the State Education Coordinator of Selangor and alongside him a Group 4 Balvika student who has been in Balvika since nursery. So with that, we would like to welcome Brother Mithran and Sister Pradayini. Welcome.
Thank you, Saram.
Sairam. So today, before we start with the topic, let's have a short game or icebreaker session.
Okay.
So I'm sure, like Anna, you have been in school, and Pradayini, you are still in school. So even the icebreaker is we are going to have two different perspectives on it. So I'm going to go through like a few questions, and it's basically to jog like memories or like for Pradayini experiences that you all have in school. Okay.
Give me some chance. Give me some chance.
Okay, so let's go with the first one.
Okay.
One unforgettable memory during school.
One unforgettable memory in school. I think it was once when I was in standard 6. So I'm generally a very good boy in school. And then, it was the last day we were going, you're going to go to secondary school. And the teacher made it very clear, I want to speak to you all before this is your last day. Don't go outside and play with flour and egg and all that. But teacher went out for a while, so I got too caught up. And then I realized, looked around, none of my classmates were there. And by that time, I had full flour. I had this very good image. And on the last day, on the last moment, and then after that, I came in with the flour. And then teacher looked at me and said, I had all the while, a good image. And that last moment, I was like, so I still remember that very much, that guilt. But yeah, it was a funny but memorable moment. Yeah.
Fun times, school
Yeah,
times.
I miss school.
So then for you, maybe kindergarten or primary school?
No, I can say something I did in Form 1, which is a bit naughty. Actually, we have this pass that you need to take from teacher before going out from class.
Okay.
So what we will do, I and my friends, we will take that pass, our maths teacher's pass, and we will keep that pass until her next lesson. So we will use that pass to go around buy juice and food and all of those things. So that is one naughty thing that I did.
That pass thing is a very good thing. I used to misuse my pengawas pass. So like, teacher, I got duty, and after I go and sit in the room, and then very bad.
My teachers made very sure that I did get pengawas. So for me, I could say one unforgettable memory is during primary school. So I had this teacher named Teacher Gracie.
Okay.
So she had a very specific problem with the way I write my W. So she says W needs to come with a V, and then mine goes like with a U, W. So then she says that looks like something else. It doesn't look like a W. So then after that, and that wasn't the only problem. So obviously, talking in class, all these things, I was a bit cheeky in school. Okay. So then I thought, then came the day where she was retiring. So when she was retiring, then we had the retirement party and everything. And then, I did, out of everyone, or out of all her teachers' pets and everyone, the last person I expected was me for her to come and talk to. And then when she was leaving, she came and then she told me, she actually put her hand on my cheek, and then she said that, you are a very good student. You are a very good boy. So please don't be naughty and focus in class.
Wow.
So that actually I can't forget that because out of everyone, like she came, despite everything, all the problems I have. So that one thing I remember when I think back about it, right? Why did she do that? Because although everything that I did, I always respected her, and anything I made mistake. Sorry, teacher, I won't do it again. Teacher. Although I do it again, but I won't do it again.
Nice. Yeah, that's the thing about teachers. I think they see through the surface of your behavior. They able to really know who you are, and the fact that she did that, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Gracie.
It's a Gracie.
Nice.
So, and then the next one. Do you remember where you sat in class?
Unfortunately, during exams, so my name, there's a bit of a complexity. So my father's name is Balakrishnan.
Okay.
But when they registered my name, they put it as B. So I have a B at the start and I have Balakrishnan at the end. So some teachers will mistake me as being a B and then they put me right at the front. And then sometimes it's Y because I'm Yoga Mithran. So they put me right at the back. So it's mixed. But generally, I'm not the tallest. So I end up sitting right in front.
Pradayini, where do you sit currently?
I sit in front because I always concentrate in class.
For me, I'm always at the back. First, it started in standard 1. I still remember they put me I sat in front.
Okay.
Wanted to be a good student, sat in front. Then teacher came in, you thingy, belakang. So he put me at the back. So then he started the journey of the backbencher.
Backbenchers, yes.
Always at the back. And I still went to university. When I went to university the first day, still sat in front.
Oh, wow.
Still sat in front. And then slowly met one by one. And then first row became second row. Then fourth row. Then I went to last row again.
You evolved and went behind.
So I usually generally sit at the back of the class. But doesn't really stop me from paying attention.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Then what sports did you used to play in school?
I had a mix of few. So in primary school, the one game that I really enjoyed was sepak takraw. So mine was good. I was the person who threw the ball for the guy to kick over. Then in secondary school, I mean, I was always a football guy, but somehow I was not the best guy lah. Again, I was the smallest guy. I like playing the goalkeeper, but unfortunately, I could go on one-on-one. Like futsal, I can do well, but when it comes to football, they know how to lob the ball over and then it's over. But the one that I represented in school was for ping pong. So you know how they have like different categories. Interestingly, in ping pong, in table tennis, they used to have a Bukan Cina category. Because most of the good ones were Chinese. So I think they wanted to give some opportunity to the non-Chinese. So they had a Bukan Cina. And because of that, I had a chance. So I represented the school for doubles for table tennis.
Nice. Pradayini?
I don't play sports in school so much, but I can say during PJ, they only have ball and badminton. So what we take the ball and we create our own games like Ibu Ayam, Bola Racun. And then when we play.
That's very creative.
Talking about that, when I was growing up, I mean, this wasn't school, but this is the place I used to live was a little bit like some mixed rural urban kind of area. We used to play Gala Panjang, which is basically you use the badminton court and then you run. So those stuffs are really memorable. I think when we know every school friend and ngam at 4:30 or 5, everyone's out. Then after that, rain also, you just try and not hear the parents shouting to us like, I said, no, I didn't hear you. And then after that, you'll come back at 7 o'clock. But yeah.
I think the alarm clock that time was the street lights.
Yes.
Street light on, it will be 7 o'clock.
Correct, yeah.
Still remember playing in the field and then like, Friday, street light on already, first of all, go back. They not on, still not on, play.
Alarm hasn't come on yet.
For me, it was easy because the house was right beside the field. So just quickly run back. This was Kerala.
Go very far.
Okay. So, have you ever been punished in school?
Yeah, I know this is a bit embarrassing, but I was a prefect from Form 1, but I think I was the first ever prefect who had to stand outside of the class. This is because there's this teacher, so she's got her hand movement in a certain way, and everyone calls her the chicken teacher. So and she's always picking on different people. So so she was new to the class. There's another guy called Kumar. So he asked, Kumar, are you here? So I'll carry my hand. So another Indian guy, I'll carry my hand. She got super irritated and said, you stand outside. And on that day, the prefect teacher happened to be walking past. I was like, oh, gone lah, finished. But somehow she thought I was checking something on the class and I got by. But I think that's the first time ever I saw a prefect made to stand outside the class. But yeah.
Pradayini?
I have not been punished.
Very good student.
Yeah, I know.
Completely
lucky. I remember different teachers have different way of punishing. I remember my standard 6 teacher don't finish the maths work, right? So he'll come like that, and then he'll ask you to say toing, 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 and then he'll hit the nose. I was like, we all giving sound effect for him, but yeah.
For me, I can't pinpoint one time. There have been a lot of times, but then it was usually the only main reason there is only homework. But when it comes back down to like actually studying and all, that one no problem. It's just the homework that I really lazy. I want to go.
I know. Daily stuff.
So I think the kind of punishments I got was standing outside class and then rotan in the hand and then stand on the chair. So those kind of stuff. Then I say sorry, cikgu. Okay, do. So what is your favorite subject in school?
They're very boring. I would say English.
English, huh?
That's the one subject, effortless you can get through kind of thing. But there's one time, that I proved, they say, watching so much TV, they say you cannot study, but I proved that, watching TV helped me. This was, so we used to have something with science and all, geography. So back then in Standard 6, we used to call Alam dan Manusia. So that was the subject. So this was after UPSR at that point. So the last exam, so no one really studied. So I was watching Superman, the previous movie, the previous day. So in that Superman, it's first time ever I saw the tsunami happening and how Superman saved the day. So the next day, the question came, when this happens, what is it called? And I was one of the only ones who could, and I knew how to spell it because subtitles gave me tsunami. And it was in BM, so I spelled it, and I was like, wow, how you got that? Watch TV yesterday. So yeah, but yeah, English to say it short, English is my favorite
Pradayini, for you?
I would say chemistry.
Chemistry.
Wow, feel me. That one is my least favorite.
Because chemistry, I like the experiments where we have this ion called MgCl. So, so that ion looks like crystals. So when it dissolves in water, it looks like water crystals actually dissolving. That's very beautiful to see.
Should have studied.
Must introduce you to my wife. She's into all this science. Chemistry, biology, immediately why do we have this?
For me, it was modern maths. Modern maths was fun. I mean, it was the easier version of ad maths. So ad maths was very hard. So modern maths was easy, and also modern maths. Why I liked it because they have a lot of real life scenario kind of thing. So there is one where you calculate the time it takes to travel based on the circumference of the Earth.
Okay.
So all these kind of things, very practical kind of application.
Okay.
So that's why I like modern maths
Nice.
But primary school, I used to like science. And then I went to secondary school, then algebra came into play. So then maths was out of the picture.
Just made it all so complicated.
Yes. Then went back, it went to Form 4, then modern maths came back, then it was okay, a bit okay.
Nice.
So, okay, the next question is a bit, how to say, it's a bit more of your opinion. So what one word that would best describe education?
Education? After I think of many words, but two words comes to me. I think maybe naturally you think education, you think wisdom. But right now, when you're asking me, the first thing that comes is contentment.
Contentment.
Yeah, I think why it gives contentment is sometimes, there's always this thing about, when you achieve something, you feel, there's still some more. And then you achieve something and then you feel there's still some more. But somehow, when I think of education, I think it gives a sense of contentment that, there's so much out there, there's so much of knowledge, and in this lifetime, there's so much that we can consume. But the thing about education, it gives me that sense of contentment, and also feels that it helps people to achieve a sense of contentment. I'm not sure why today that comes to mind, but naturally, I know the word that comes is wisdom, I think education.
Okay. Pradayini?
I would say character. Education is character. Without character, education is useless. So, yeah.
For me, if I were to give one word, I would say education is power. Education is power because with education, there's a lot of things that you can do. Like even if we see now in the working field, right? Not everyone is able to do everything, right? That's based on their education. So based on their education, they have the ability to do certain things. So in the same way, like superpowers, like if you have like Spider-Man can shoot webs,
Correct.
right? He can't take a bow and arrow and like shoot like Hawkeye and not miss the bullseye, right? So it's like that, different powers, right? That we have based on education. So
in using that in various different situations.
So and then the next one is actually, I think, Pradayini, I think we start with you. One word that best describes character. Education.
Character, maybe future. Because without character, this world has no future, right? So I feel it's future.
Okay, very true.
Wow, this is a tougher one. What does character describe? I think character comes, so when we think about character, we think of molding. And I think character molding, so if I think of molding in that sense, I think it gives us an opportunity to explore different sides of us. We were just talking about it earlier, right? So different ages, firstly, different experiences, and we have different perspectives. But I think character molds us into different people. It molds us into who we are. So for example, if she's going to be pursuing a science background, or if I'm going to be pursuing an engineering background, I think the character is what molds into what we're going to be delivering. Same like your classmates and your classmates, for example, in uni, you all came with the same education pack, same syllabus, same subjects, same exams. But what do you do with it once you go out there? That's the part of, it's mold, the character that you gain from that, and what it molds you into. What do you go out there to become? How do you serve? When I say serve, it's not just a typical service is how we know, but how do you go out there and serve, whether it's work or the people around you or the purpose that you're going. So molding is what comes to mind. What mold does it make you into going out there?
And I would say character would be like a delivery system. So like you got education, you have the power. How do you deliver it? So that is where character comes into play. That's why I feel like based on your character is how you would make use of what you have learned, right?
Yep.
So I think as we go in further into the topic, we will get to discuss further, elaborate about this. So with that two questions, I would like to introduce the topic for today.
Okay.
So the topic for today is end of education is character. As Swami always used to say, right? And we have heard it countless times with Bhavikas.
True.
So what does education mean to you, Nat?
I think education is firstly something that is never ending. I think there's always something to learn, and sometimes we limit it as something that it stops at a particular age, and or at least we've been conditioned that education is, or a lot of us are running away from education because we want to complete, because we relate it to studies or the traditional way. Like, I just want to get out of school, and then once you get into college, I just want to get out of college, I just want to start working. But I think in every part of our life, there's something to learn, and it's not just learning from a skill or knowledge, like just to, like you said, arming you to with that skill of how to go, aim that arrow and shoot it well, but also when do I shoot it? Because like you said, like the power is what it gives you, but when do you shoot that arrow? So similarly, if I'm learning literature or I'm learning journalism, for example, it means that I can write well. It means that I can articulate well. It means that I can be a very good storyteller. But what story do I tell? So what do you use? You use future, for example. How do I use this in the future? So education, I think, is key for that. It is, how does it serve the purpose of the general, need, for example? If you use an example of now, this elections, which is a hot topic. If I'm a writer, do I go with the flow of, just bashing one particular character, because that's what people like to read, right?
Correct.
Versus how do I turn this into something different? How can I turn this into valuable? When someone reads, they have that aha moment. I never saw this in that way. I think that's where education comes in very handy.
Yeah, true. I feel like education, how to say, like you said, it's not ending, right? And there's always something new to learn. And there's something that I realized is that when I started working, right? When you start working and you join a company, like basically whatever you thought that you learned in university that you're going to use is about 20%. You just use only 20% of that, and you are like forced to like learn something new.
True.
And the learning and the method that you learn is not like how you have been taught all this while, where you have a syllabus or like the lecturer tells you what to study. It's not like that. It's like you see what people do and you have to do it yourself.
Correct.
And if you don't know, yes, you can ask people, but people are not going to spoon feed you.
Correct.
And it's something that I feel like education is something that one, it's taught, and another, it's acquired by your own efforts and your own interests.
True. And that's the part about how things have changed, right? Previously it was very much study, apply, but now they're giving more opportunity for people to explore projects and all that. And I think that's one part, which is you realize that it's not just about what I learn here, but there's so many other things which even lecturers may not have heard about. That's one part. But I think the key part of the whole education is the process in which you go through. Like you said, it may be 20%, but the process in which, how do I structure my thoughts? How do I, now this is one information, now how do I articulate it in a certain way that people understand that it is relevant to a topic? And I think that's that process, I think, is helpful.
Yeah, true. So Pradayini, what does education mean to you?
For me, I feel education is learning life and learning values. So how you apply Swami's teaching, how you apply good values into this world, how you help everybody, so that it shows if you're educated and all that.
Okay. The next one is one unexpected lesson that came in your life.
Unexpected lesson. I think the one which I think was a bit painful, I think initially was, I had a period after school where I did my A levels. I wasn't doing too well.
Okay.
I was about to start law, and then I wasn't doing too well, and I needed to give up studies because financially it became challenging.
Okay.
So at that point, my schoolmates at that point were in the Taylors, the Intis, the Sunways, you name it, those universities. I, on the other hand, was struggling to get over with studies, and I needed to start working. It was a little bit of an embarrassing thing because everyone else is getting to college, flying somewhere, and I was here. And it was a mix of two things. One was a financial aspect. The other part was I was just struggling with my studies.
Okay.
For some reason, I was a good student in school, but for some reason, I had that tough patch. And at that point, it was very upsetting. You get angry, you get frustrated. Why me? That whole question, right? When it's why me, right? But looking back at it, right? I think over the years, I'm so thankful for that because had I gone down that mole of, whether it was becoming a lawyer or the typical part, I don't think I would have been able to explore different parts of me that I am today. I did a little bit of acting, realized that may not be able to pay my bills, and then I still did some human rights. I worked into a bank. I worked with a lot of students. And I think that exposure today, I may not have worked in huge organizations, large organizations, but the whole experience that you went through, I think that is one thing that I thought was an experience. If you ask me, how many years was that? 17 years ago, for example. I know it gives away my age, but it really tells me that, I'm grateful for that. It's very painful and hard at this point if you're going through to realize that, wow, what you're going to be expecting. But when I look back, I'm so thankful for every one of those moments. It was painful at that point, but today I'm like, I'm glad I had that.
Yeah, like they say, pressure shapes diamonds, right?
Yes.
For me, one lesson that came. It may not be something that is very big, but it came really unexpectedly. This was actually the Juven trip that we all went to Parthi. So I still remember, I think this was under the Bayan tree when we were having the meditation and all that. So at this point, Anna actually, he's the one who said this, that problems in life, right? The problems in life, the similar type of problems will, all of us have experienced this thing where why does this keep happening to me? So Anna said that the problem keeps repeating itself until you learn the lesson that you're supposed to learn from it. And once you learn the lesson from it, it will just disappear from your life. So, it came to me when that was, I feel like as of today, that is the biggest aha moment that I have had. Because I never thought of it in that way. And when I thought about it, I was like, and then I also thought about the previous problems that I had, and it didn't repeat itself. It's it makes sense. Some problems doesn't carry forward, and some keeps happening again and again, like a loop, until you learn from it. So that was one lesson that came out of nowhere. Then it came and hit me like a wrecking ball. I was like, wow.
That's so true, because I think that whole thing about coming again and again, it's not that the problem goes away. It's just that it's no longer troubling us anymore. Like they say, there can always be pressure, but they need not be stress. So that's, I think, the key thing that you took away. And I think that's wisdom, as you say, right? Like you take a problem, and a problem becomes an opportunity rather than it becomes a pressure. Because it's very easy, it's very human. It's a defense mechanism we have. When we have a problem, or the person doesn't understand me, I'm in the wrong country, I'm in the wrong school, I'm in the wrong college, I'm in the wrong community, wrong skin color. It's natural, right, to feel it, because everyone around us has just made us to believe that the problem is outside, but really it's in the mind, or it's in the way that we consume these things. And I think even for all of us, right now it's very easy to say, but when you go home and you face something like, oh, why? But you go through, and generally it's just slow stuff.
Pradayini, how about you? What is one lesson that came to you unexpected?
Unexpected is I would compare in school from my first class and second class. So actually first class is all good students, educated students, right? So I thought they will be helping us who are not so good in studies, and we would grow together and all those. But turns out they want to focus on themselves, on their grades. Whereas on the second class, they are helping each other to grow together. And they are happy for other people if they get good grades and all the things. So that is an unexpected lesson that I learned from the second class.
I feel like
it's nice that she saw that. I think sometimes you get caught into that whole thing, but the fact that you're able to pull yourself out of that problem or the issue. I think that's the good thing, and that's I think what we all should be doing. And what we're very nice. Very nice.
I think when Pradayini said about first class and second class, right, I have this actually the exact same experience. So this was PT3. So all the students who did well in PT3 go to first class, and the balance go to second class. And all my friends were in the second class. And then I went first day after PT3 Form 4, see the name all. Then I saw my name first class. Only got first class. I still remember only 4 boys.
Okay.
Rest all girls because no boys studied in school. So only 4 boys went inside the class, and all the other 3 boys are like they really study really hard.
Okay.
And I was the only other boy there. And then there was one time when the teacher left, or I think there was no teacher in the class. There was no teacher in the class. And then I carried my head up like, okay, no teacher. And then everybody's head is still down. I was like, okay, no one else looking up. Then I got this friend, one girl. Then she looked up. Then it's like, okay, friend. Then after that, I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Then Form 5, I purposely didn't
Dropped
do
your
so
grades.
well. Yes. Purposely didn't do so well. And then went second class. Second class, when I went second class, everybody was so excited. All my friends, all of us were super excited the whole day. And then when I went back, I carried the same excitement. And I went to my mom. Mama picked me up and she's like, so how was school? Ma, very good, ma. I went to second class. Then she was like, what? Second class? I was like, wrong energy, tough crowd.
I was about to ask you the question, how are you going to have the conversation at home?
But then after something, okay.
I can imagine the conversation, you're so happy, but you know you're going to make someone unhappy. Nice.
The thing is, it just came out of nowhere. I mean, I just carried the same energy all the way back to here. I'm not going to be happy I went second class. That's what she wasn't.
Wrong audience.
Yeah, wrong audience. So, the next one. Have you ever been inspired by a student in Balikas?
In Balikas. I can't think of particular students, but a few come to mind. I know this one, I'm thinking of former students, I mean, those who have gone through, like this one particular student who, she now works with students with like special needs on speech therapy. I mean, children who struggle a little bit on speaking, I mean, children as they're coming, so she helps them with that. But when you work with that, some children are special needs, so a little bit tougher to work with them, temperamental, you need to clean them up because they don't have control over their body, and I'm thinking it's not easy. I mean, even parents with their own children they struggle. But imagine it's not your child; they're working with multiple children and being able to have that level of patience. And it's not like I teach you, ABC. You may take like 20 minutes, half an hour, and then you'll be able to see it. But with these children, to start with A itself will be so hard. And then in the next day you come back, you'll be like, what are you talking about A? I haven't heard of this letter. It's so much tougher. But the fact that they have taken a role which is very sacrificial, I feel you're helping the children who not many are investing in. That's one who comes to mind. Another one, to give you an example, and these are some that come to mind. He's a pharmacist, and normally when you go to a pharmacy, either they're trying to sell you something more expensive, or you ask for Panadol, there, it's over there. That customer service isn't there. But what I've heard of him is that he actually sits, he explains, understand what actually is a problem, and said, actually you shouldn't be taking this, you should take this. Why you want to take medicine? Take a supplement. Don't abuse your. I mean, sometimes they just want to drop you with a lot of medication, but what you may need is supplements. And I think, sometimes we think when we categorize the students who come through and they come and do service, blood donation, all that, we tend to see that and celebrate those people, and that's good. But what we miss are those who also serve in their own careers, in their own jobs. And those are a couple who come to mind. But if you ask me the characteristic which I feel, which is much needed today, and that's what I feel a lot, giving you as an example, sitting here today, and that ability to challenge the norm. And sometimes when we're having a conversation and somebody, no Anna, I don't think so, it's like that, actually I think we should try it this way. And I love that when I hear that, because it's like someone may disagree with me and I have this particular way of doing things, and when they do that, I like that. They may not be correct, but the fact that they have the guts, they have the ability to come and say, no, I don't think so, and this is why. Sometimes some people just want to disagree for the sake of it, but they say why. I feel that's a big part. So I know I'm not answering the question of a particular individual, but these are the characteristics that makes me proud that when I see someone come through the Balikas system.
Pradayini, have you like for you maybe not student, like maybe a guru that who has inspired you that you have seen, or teachers or uncles, aunties, anyone?
Guru, I would say Anjulaka maybe because Anjulaka, she's a wife and she's a mother and all that. She's working, so despite all the work she has and everything, she never fails to give her best. Like even though she has a lot of work in center and all that, being the education, she was an education coordinator here. So with all that, she can still give her best to Swami. So that is something that I really like to learn. And she also, wherever she is, the place is filled with joy. So she never fails to make anybody laugh. So that is one thing that I really like from her.
Yeah. For me, I wouldn't say. I mean, I would say like for example, like when I used to teach Group 2. So, I mean, looking back when you were a student, and then when you start to teach, right? And then when you look back at the students, you tend to see yourself in them.
Yeah.
So when I still remember there were a few boys when I used to teach in Group 2. I'll be teaching and then backbenchers. Then they start talking and all that. So there was one time, I finished teaching already. My part was done. Then another guru was teaching. So I saw these people, they were talking. So then I said, okay, first I went, I told, okay boys, keep quiet, pay attention. Okay? Later you all can talk. So okay. So then they kept quiet for a while. And then the fellow took the pencil and they started talking again. So they started talking, okay, then I saw, okay, these people won't keep quiet. Then I went and sat with them. When I sat with them, and then they still start talking to me. I said, no, you're not supposed to do that. So these kind of things, that when you see, and then the thing what I'm trying to say is that when you see students, yourself as students, you tend to, I mean, you understand them and you understand where they are coming from.
Sure.
I mean, they are not naughty or they are not purposely doing it, right? They're just young, they're just cheeky, they just want to have fun. So that is, I find it like it's a different point of looking at it, and that also inspires me to like take a different approach rather than telling them what not to do.
Correct.
Like to bring them into your way, like get them to understand like what would happen if they did it your way. So that in that way that they start to understand like why they shouldn't talk and all that.
So true. I came across this, and this was so I teach Group 4, right? So this is many years ago. These two boys, I remember, they were sitting on the stairs in the center. They were 14 years old. So next year, 15, they're going to come. So we asked them, are you excited about coming to Group 4 next year and all that? And guess what the two boys asked? So tell us, what is your experience in teaching SSE? I was like, I was afar. They were asking another one of these Akas who's a teacher, and she was like, wow, a student interviewing me about my experience in teaching. And they didn't know that this Akka has been teaching for so many years. I was like, wow. And I was like, we looked at each other, we're going to have a tough year next year. But it was interesting, the same, I mean, cheeky or, like, how come they had the guts to ask me? But if you approach it from, wow, this one are difficult students, they're asking these tough questions, we would be blocking our mind. But the fact that we took it like, this would be interesting, students. And the next year, the first class we asked is, what do you want to do? And they said they want to do baking. So I remember it was Valentine's Day that we had the particular class, and they said they wanted to do baking. So we went to someone's house and we baked cake. And we talked, then we used the whole baking and ingredients as the lesson plan. And those same students, they are now 28 and 27 of age, and they still keep in touch. They're in different parts of the world. They still keep in touch, and they're super funny. They're successful in what they do. But thinking of so many years ago where they were and where they are now, but like you said, the approach you take and whether you take it as how do I turn around? How do I use their energy in the right space rather than trying to fit them in the way that I have learned to fit me? I think that's a good perspective.
Yeah. So, have you ever seen anyone leave out the phrase "end of education is character"?
That's I think firstly, there are a few gurus that come to mind. I think a few gurus who come to mind for two reasons. One, I think is the ability to learn how to work with different children. And it's the love factor. I think the love factor, in this particularly we see with the aunties, they come, they will make sure they put one curry puff in your mouth, they will make sure you have your Milo. It's like, where are these humans? They may not even know your name. Come, they'll feed you. So, firstly, that level of love, and then in the classes, only when I started teaching, I realized how much of preparations there is needed for the class, and that part of it. But I think the other part of it is also, at some point when they realized that they were not able to connect to the children anymore, because they were so much more older, right? They still had the love. they still had the passion, but the style of teaching was very different. And they were able to know that, hey, maybe I need to change. I may not need to be the person who's leading this class anymore. And that takes a lot of, I don't know what's the word. I don't know if the word is sacrifice, but it takes a lot of awareness and wisdom to be able to say that, what, yes, I've been teaching this class. And sometimes we get very, I've been teaching, I know what is good for this class. But sometimes to be able to take a step back and say that, what, I'm no longer suitable, or I'm no longer fitting this need. And they've been able to pull back. But what they started doing is they started doing sewing for Swami's birthday. They also the attire, prepared the props. So they didn't back away. They didn't back away. They were still part of the education process. They were no longer taking the limelight position of being the teacher or the one in front. And I think that for me was character. Because you know when and how to do your role very well. But similarly, although you are the expert, or everyone thinks, when you think guru, you think of this auntie or this uncle, for example, but they also knew when to retire. And I think that's something that, many of us, and we face the challenge because we're so used to it, and we become very, dominant over something. We forget the awareness that I don't serve that purpose anymore, and somebody else could do better service. And for me, I think that is one that comes to mind. A couple of aunties that come to mind in particular for that. I was also thinking about that question as you said, one recent character that I remember was when I watched the movie Rocketry, the Madhuman movie. And yes, he was not a perfect individual, but the part about him which I thought was his character was his grit in making it happen, that whole space process, and how he was offered a job in NASA and how he came back. And it's a real life story, and how he came back and he served the Indian space project. That was another one that hit me, like sometimes we get caught up with the money factor, but how he came back and he had a cause. I was just reading it in the center earlier, how you serve your country. That's a good reminder for me. That was another individual that came. His name is Nambi.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Pradayini, do you have anyone?
I feel for me, it's my sister Baudani. So, one example that she follows this race is that during her SPM, she wasn't well, she fell sick, so she couldn't study properly, and her grades didn't turn out to be very good. So after we saw her grades online. So after we saw that, she wasn't sad about her grades. We were also a bit down. But then she called Amma, faster come, I want to go to school and cheer for my friends. So her friends all got good grades. So she rushed to school and she went and cheered. When she came back, she had sore throat and her hands was paining. So that's how much she was screaming and clapping for them. So that is a very beautiful thing, that you are happy for your friends, their success. So that is what I feel.
That's nice.
Yeah. For me, and education is character, I would say, is my grandfather. So, my grandfather, he is not very highly educated. He was just a hospital assistant. And but for me, till this day, if I think about discipline, it's my grandfather. Because since I know him, he has this routine, and he always sticks to that routine. I have never seen him till this day breaking that routine. And my grandfather is always he's always by the books. So if and the thing is, you would think that if you are always by the books and you do things always in a straight line, it might not be fun, right? But I never had a dull moment with my grandfather. It was always fun, and I always look forward, when I was young, I always look forward to school holidays. I can go to Tata's house. So, and yes, I mean, he was by the books and everything, but he taught me a lot of things, like riding motorbike and all that. He taught me to ride motorbike and all that. But the thing is, he would always say that I have taught you all of this, but I mean, you are not supposed to do it now. So you should know how to behave when you have this. So I mean, then again comes the thing where you have this power, this education, knowledge. So how you use it. So he said, you can ride bike already. So you want to take it, you want to go to play football, or you can go in the taman only. So you make sure you ride slowly. If you ride fast, I hear, then you don't get to ride the bike anymore. And he doesn't, whenever he scolds, he doesn't scold. He will ask you, if you do something wrong, he will ask you questions in a way that you think that, why did I do this? I should have not done this. So just by asking, he won't raise his voice, he won't like sulk his face, he'll just ask you, then he will just walk off. By then itself you understand like, okay, I should not do this
I
anymore.
get the point.
Yeah, and I mean all the stories that I've heard like from my mother, like what she said, like when she used to grow up, right? He leaves home sharp on time, he reaches office on time, he leaves office on time, and he reaches home on time. So and he will come back home for lunch, and he spends that 1 hour for lunch, and he leaves on time and goes back to office. So that's the thing. I mean, although you are not very educated, right? The way you live your life is how you. I mean, end of education is character. So that's how your life unfolds based on how you live.
So true.
Yeah, you carry yourself and all that. And with just by being a hospital assistant, he actually he managed to make my uncle a doctor, and my mother also to become a teacher, and he taught them how to. And till this day, like my mother is also the one of the strong pillars for me to like fall back onto for character and discipline and all of this. And there's always this one question that Amma will always ask me. She's like, "You like Tata so much. You always want to be with Tata. You always like want to spend time with him. But then why don't you be more like him?" I said, "Ma, try, ma. I'm not trying."
And the thing about your grandfather, right? So the thing is, it looks like he's doing everything perfectly and everything's disciplined. But I'm sure in his own journey, right, he would have also had his own challenges. I'm sure he would have also had his own insecurities, his own things that he wasn't sure. Like like you said, right, he didn't have the highest paying of jobs, but he would have wanted that his children become certain people, and that would have been pressure for him.
Yes.
But the fact that although he didn't have the best of circumstances, he still stuck to the discipline because he knew that, with consistency and discipline, you're going to get somewhere. And I think that's the one which is commendable, that despite all of that, he said, you know what, no, I will stay through this journey. Because I'm sure there would have been other shortcuts that would have come through. There would have been other easier ways of doing it. But he felt that, I need to do the right thing. And it's what you do when you're not seen. That's the part that I think you miss. And it's nice to learn from what they do, they go through and how they come out flying from there.
Yeah. And then okay, then this one is like more of a like current situation kind of question. So a recent survey shows that 72% of SPM graduates prefer to be influencers, e-hailing drivers, rather than pursuing higher education and like going to university and all this. So what is your opinion on this? Because they prefer to become influencers and e-hailing drivers rather than studying. And like going the normal convention, you go to university, then go to work.
Okay.
So what is your opinion on this, Nan?
So let's address the first bias towards it, right? So maybe the bias towards influencers is they're trying to leverage off public sentiment, public crowd, and they're taking easy way out. So that may be one bias towards them. The other thing is they're trying to shortcut the process, take the easy way out. That means no need to work hard, just post a lot of videos or start driving, and it's an easy way out. So maybe that's a bias towards them. So just putting it out there, so we taking that out of the influence of doing things. So firstly, I think there are some people who do it because they come from different challenges. I know generally there are people who took up e-hailing because that was what was the fastest way for them to start something. They had a car at home, but they couldn't perhaps fund themselves, and they started doing that as a part-time. For example, I know one person who studied and was doing e-hailing, couldn't get a job that he really thought would pay him decently after that, or that was that he really liked, that was passionate about. So he continued doing e-hailing, but he started teaching tabla classes online. So that flexibility allowed him to do that. I thought that was something which was nice, because when I was thinking, I told you when I took acting, for example, you couldn't pay the bills. It wasn't enough to pay the bills. But there wasn't such jobs or gig economy, as they call it, where you get to do this kind of things. So it's either you work a full-time job or not. And I tried doing a full-time job and doing acting. It was not possible. The timing was just off. I need to compromise, and didn't make sense. But the fact that he could do that, I thought that was good. So he was able to do what he was passionate about, yet he was able to find some form of income. There's also the other part, which is influencers doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Because there are a lot of influencers out there who are sending out good messages. Whether we think of Jay Shetty's of the world, who we see post a lot of videos. There's Anthony Robbins out there who the influencers. But what is the purpose behind what they did? That's where I think the challenge comes in, which is are we doing something because it's the shortcut towards doing things? Shortcut doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
If what you're trying to do is you're trying to achieve, what is the purpose? Are you doing it for the purpose of gaining attention, seeking, a shortcut to wealth? And we realize that, every time you do that, there will be some repercussion.
Yes.
Versus if your intent is to make a difference. There are some, if we look at some, even, I always use politics, and I know Swami says, don't go into politics. But when I see some who get into politics, who get into efforts to change, they use this kind of, I know there's a girl who went on about environment, Greta Thunberg, for example. So she's also another form of influencer.
Yeah.
She's of course not the one who's fashioning and doing those kind of, that kind of influencer, but that's another form of influencer. Now, again, I go back to what is the purpose behind why you're doing it. If the purpose is, I don't want to study, because there's just so much of effort, and that's why education is also kind of changing. It's, yes, there is that typical, the moment I finish school, I get into college or university, and then I get a job. There is still there, but it's changing. More and more education is available online. More and more education is more, you take what you want.
Yes.
So I may start a degree in IT, but in that IT, I can take various different elements and I come out with the business IT, or I come out with the economics IT, or whatever it is. So it's becoming more and more dynamic in that sense. So how I'm studying, the pace in which I study is changing, which allows people to do many things. And I think that's giving, for some, it's really giving them a personal sense of satisfaction, but also it's allowing them to achieve something. But the only thing, my key message for those who are taking that is the first thing that we talked about, which is there needs to be that continuous learning. Otherwise, you very quickly, from a very influencer, you become irrelevant very quickly. So that knowledge part is important, because the knowledge is the wisdom bit, and that I think is key. So I think it's very easy to say, it's taking the easy way out, and I understand where that's coming from, because it seems like they're getting away from the hard work and the effort. But I think it's changing the way things are changing. I think there is a reason for this. I think there is a necessity for us to evolve in the way we do things. When it was for parents, it was work 9 to 9, and then come back next day 6 o'clock in the morning, wake up, and that was what worked. It doesn't mean that people who don't work as long as that are less hardworking. It's just that they're finding different ways in doing it. That's not a bad thing, as long as you're not trying to compromise in the quality in what you're. So you don't. I've seen people who do a lot of advertisement influencers. Like, for example, to give you an example, is cakes. Huge amount. Every day they'll post photo of cake. You message them to ask them for order of the cake. 3 weeks later, still no reply. That's a compromise in quality. So those are things that needs to be balanced in when you're taking down that path.
I feel like these children, or these people who want to become influencers and e-hailing drivers, all this right now, I feel like they are very big risk takers. They are not afraid of what may come after.
Agree.
So I feel like that is a quality to admire, because like you can go out and say you want to become an influencer, you can post videos, but people viewing the videos is not based on your control.
Correct.
Right? If it happens, it happens. And being able to sacrifice your time and effort to actually do that and like keep consistently doing it, that takes a lot of courage and a lot of effort, and to be consistent, it takes discipline as well. So I feel like that is one thing that is admirable from them. And also, like, another thing I feel is that now I feel the new generation, right? There's the younger generation, we have the new generation of parents also. So I feel the new generation of parents are more open-minded, and I feel like they themselves are stable enough to allow the children to tell them, you do what you want to do, and we will be able to support you. Because I feel like they won't be able to go out and do all this if they don't have support from anywhere. So I feel like that is also another thing to look at, like, because the change of mindset in parents, in family, so that is why more people come out to do things like this. And also I feel like they are brave, like, say, like, what happens, let it happen. And there's also, like, you can actually, and they're also willing to go back. If it doesn't work, I have another option. So this thing, because even there was one point that I also actually thought of becoming a Grab driver. So because there was one point of time where I didn't actually like the current job that I was doing, and I had the perception where this is how the field is going to be. So before trying for another job, I actually was already thinking of like leaving or finding some other way, because definitely you need to pay the bills. So finding some other option. So then I spoke to my friend who is actually a Grab driver, and then I told him, bro, how much do you make roughly a month by driving Grab? Then he said he makes roughly about 8,000. I said, bro, you're making that much, then why am I slogging myself for 1 month here every day just to get like a fraction of the amount? Then he said, yes, bro, like definitely immediately you see like big money, but when you look back at it, your growth later in the future financially will be way bigger compared to mine. Mine stops at 8,000. Mine doesn't grow. Like I get 8, I stop at 8.
Yep.
So it doesn't grow. So for you, your growth and like the things you learn, all of this keeps increasing, because my friend, he's still in university, so he does it part-time. So he said that is the point that he brought to me. And then when I thought about it, I was like, yes. So I was also in the phase where I just want a quick way out. I want a quick way out, and I want something to do, something to pay the bills. So when he said this, that is when it triggered me. And then when I thought back about on it, I was like, am I willing to take this risk? Am I willing to like jeopardize my career just because I want something temporary? So that is when like I went back, thought about it, and then I applied for another job and I moved, and then now I'm kind of happy with where I am. So that is also like the things, different perspectives on this kind of what do you call it? The careers.
The kind of career. And like you said, we may be in a position where our parents are able to support us. Like you said, if this fails, we have our parents support and they're supportive. But not everyone is as lucky as that. And sometimes that's the part that everyone who's taking or thinking going down that path, they need to be aware that if they're doing that, they're going to be, it's an opportunity cost. Do I choose a part of building my knowledge and or working versus a career down? There is that risk. But if you're going down the path that if I fail, never mind, my parents are going to take care, you must understand the burden that's going to go on to them. Not everyone's that financially. Imagine if your parents are 60, 70 years old and they need to continue to work because you are taking a risk and they have to take on. So that part needs to be thought about. So it needs to be calculated risk that we're taking.
Correct.
So yes, you can go down that path, the influencer, but if you are at this point don't have that financial stability, you then need to find another way of, managing that risk. Otherwise, it's not you who bears the consequences, it's your parents. And so that's the part that we need to think through when you're going down that path.
Yeah, very true. So, Pradayini, do you have, like you are still a student, right? So maybe you would know like why people, like students these days, like they would choose to be e-hailing drivers or influencers.
Like let's say for influencers, I feel that they have the passion, right? They are willing to fight for their passion. They don't want to let that go. Because I have a friend, so she wants to become a TikToker. So becoming a TikToker is not going to, it's not a stable thing. Like you can see all these big TikTokers, Charlie D'Amelio and all the people, they have so many million followers, right? So to go to that point, it's actually difficult. So they're willing to take that risk and not worrying about the failure that's might come. So I feel that is something that is good that we can learn from that. Another thing, like for e-hailing drivers, it's like honestly, it's fast money, right? So they how do I say? They rather than going into university, like for example, going to university for 4 years and coming out and then finding a job, this is a faster and easier way to get money. So that's what I feel.
Yeah, but there's some people who do it part time. Like my friend, he studies and he drives also. I mean, these kind of things, like maybe because on my friend's side it's more towards financial situation. So like people have different different situations from different people. So different circumstances.
Yeah, I think different circumstances is one, but also the purpose behind why you're doing it. I think that's the other part, because some I know that there's one particular guy, he was a doctor, and sometimes these days doctors need to wait a very long time before they do. He said he had the money, he had money, his parents could sustain, but he says, I want to be able to make sure that I can relate to human beings. If I'm 8 months at home doing nothing, I won't be able to have that. I would lose my ability to communicate with people. I want to be able to have this conversation, build my interpersonal. And he took up Grab. I was like, this guy is an MD. You technically can call him a doctor, but he took up Grab driving while waiting for it to be placed. That was purpose, So he's building his own skill sets. The other thing is, he wants to communicate with people. So I thought that was nice. I mean, to be honest, sometimes I get curious, like, when I get so buried into my job, I'm like, same thing, same old challenge. I sometimes think of, it's nice to go out there, but, we sometimes have that flexibility or ability to maybe take those risks. Not everyone does.
Yes.
So when you are taking the risk, you need to look into your circumstances and how you're going to mitigate those risks.
Yes.
So you need to think through that.
Yeah. True. Then speaking about risk and all that, like Swami always says like end of education is character, right? So, but currently, as we see in the world right now, many white collar crimes are committed by highly educated individuals. So, what do you think about that, right?
So there's two parts, right? So one is knowledge
Yes.
and one is wisdom. So we all, like I said, right? You go to college, same books, same exams, same pack, but then you go out there. Now, what do I utilize it for? You may come from the exact same taman, or you may come from the same family background, but then it's also the other external circumstances that comes in. It's also sometimes you may see as you're going along, you may see a BMW. So like, that's my classmate driving the BMW. So then there's a bit of I'm going to start with a 2,000 or 3,000 ringgit job, but the BMW seems like it's another 7 years.
Yeah.
Now, what can I do to get there faster? So your mind starts playing games with you, right? It starts asking you those questions. Then, so you see, the universe also has a way of answering questions that you ask. So you ask the question, how do I do that? Then suddenly there's a way that, there may be a tender that comes in that says, that is coming to your company, and then they say that, what do you call it? I'll settle for you, lah. You just give me the contract, for example. That's one step closer to get to a BMW. So in your mind, it doesn't seem like you're doing anything badly, but what you start doing, and that's what I've read from people who go down the path and they realize later, when they start getting into these white collar crimes, because it's not like I'm going there, stabbing someone or stealing. It starts from not even realizing that they are making, or they think they're just doing a small. A small bribe, for example, or they're just doing, a small thing. I mean, it won't hurt anyone, or no one knows, no one going to do. But then it starts from there, and it starts growing and growing and growing and growing, and then it gets into millions and billions.
Yeah.
And by then, even they don't feel like they're doing anything wrong. Everyone else is doing it. What?
Yeah.
I'm only taking on 2 million. So I took 2 billion, I took 2 million only. What is it? Wow, how can I be that bad? So they start self protecting as if it's nothing. And that's how it starts. But another person could go, you know what? No, this is how my path. I use your grandfather's story. They put in the effort. It's strong. It's hard work, and that's how they go down. Yeah. So it's environment. It's also like and I know someone always says don't get into politics because it gets into this whole thing about I need to win, and in order to win, you somehow need to sell stories and so on. So that's how it kind of goes from there. I think that's where. It's knowledge versus wisdom, skills versus purpose and contentment. So those are things in where education doesn't necessarily guarantee that. There's environment and everything else that influences things.
I feel like I mean when when I hear this question, I feel like the thing that comes to mind is what Uncle Ben said. With great power comes great responsibility. So I feel like education is the power that you have, that you hold, and character is the responsibility that you have. So how you use the power is based on that.
Yep.
So that's what I feel about this one. Pradayini, do you have anything to add about this one?
Okay, so I can say that, like Anna said, desire BMW and all that, right? So that's desires. So you need the money to get all what you want, right? So even nowadays, parents are pushing children to study, get good grades, go and get money and all those things. That they tend to forget to teach their children values. So without values comes all these white collar crimes and all that. So I feel that desire and that thing where you really want something, I would do anything to get that one thing, not thinking whether it is correct or wrong. So that is what I feel.
Yeah, I feel like the one Pradayini said right now, values, I feel like that is the one that makes the difference.
Yeah. But one is just learning the values, but I think the putting into practice, and I don't know why your grandfather keeps coming to place, that discipline he does is a sadhana that he put in place. And because he kept to that sadhana, that kept away everything else that could have easily influenced him or brought him down, and that kept his discrimination ability also steadfast. So I think there's values, so you build your core, but that sadhana and maintaining you on the discipline path, I think those come hand in hand in ensuring that whatever you learn comes with, becomes wisdom as well.
Yeah, true. Speaking now, since we spoke all about education and character and all, how it plays a part and all that, right? And now coming back to Bal Vikas. So based on all of this that we have discussed today, right? Like we noticed that Bal Vikas is the one that plays a vital role, or it's like the solution to all the issues that we discussed today. Because we learn values, we learn how to manage ourselves. Like in like group 4, we learn life skills, like how to handle stress and how to be creative with our problems. And like I still remember this one lesson that I learned, that problem seems big when you are close, but when you take a step back and you look at it, it's simple. So these kind of little things, little but vital things that we learn in Balvikas is the solution to all of or most of the issues that we have discussed today. So Pradayini, as your opinion as a student, what is the end goal of Balvikas for you?
For me, I feel the end goal of Balvikas is to produce children with full of values, right? So we learn slokas, so much of knowledge we get from Balvikas. So I can say as a student, with all this knowledge, I go out into this world and I practice Swami's teachings. I help, let's say in school, if anybody needs help, I help them, and I make people happy and all those things. I like seeing people happy. So I feel the goal of Balvikas is to produce all this younger generation which is full of values and to make this world a better place. So that's what I feel.
Yeah, that is very true. Like Balvikas, I feel like Balvikas is the what you call it, the differentiating factor that gives you the extra, that brings you up the extra mile, that makes you stand out from the crowd, right? Because like everyone has bookish education, like, but the Balvikas gives you not only education in terms of life skills and all that, but also education about other religions, and also even Hinduism, the scriptures, like we have Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, all of these are taught in Balvikas. I think if it wasn't for Balvikas, I wouldn't have known Bhaja Govindam and Bhagavad Gita. Ramayana maybe, but Bhaja Govindam and Bhagavad Gita, I don't think there would be a chance for me, because I still remember in Group 3 I used to go for class, and my guru was Auntie Sudha. I will sit, and I used to always go to class to listen to her stories about Bhagavad Gita and Bhaja Govindam. So I feel this is like the difference that it makes, Rana.
I just want to add on to that. You know, it's very often for three of us we are in front of the camera, and you know when we talked about how Balvikas makes a difference, right? We often we hear people talking about people like us. You know, like, wow, you know, Trilo used to be such a small child. Now look at that, he's speaking in front of the mic. You know, she's 16 years old. Last time she used to be such a shy, and they use the same thing for me. But there's also the other part of the SSC children who are more introverted, they're more back end. But they also make such a huge difference. Yes. I mean, let's look at this scene, right? Our brothers at the back of the camera. Why are they spending time on a Saturday morning here? You know, and the time they're going to be spending editing this. That part of it, you know, I know this boy who, you know, he used to work part-time, he used to study, and then at 10 o'clock he will come back, he'll come into a call, we'll do the, you know, Guru Purnima recording and all that. But you will never see him. If they ask, you know, all these children, they came through Balvikas, where are they? But they are involved in the process. He says you don't see them because they're working in the back end, because that's where they're good at, that's where their skills at, and we should not forget those also. Because sometimes it's the people like us who may front in, they see, but there's so many others who still contribute, they add value, but they're doing it different way. They are the ones sketching at the back. You know, I talked about the aunties who, you know, who do the prop and all that. So many people who also giving back in that way, and that's the other part of the production that's coming through from the SSC. And I think sometimes you see them in the organization, sometimes they're going out and making the difference. And I think every single bit of what's happening in the organization, it's making changes out there, whether it's a drop or whether it's a flood. The impact is, you know, it's still, there is an impact. And I think that's very important.
I feel like Balvikas is the one that instills the character into us. And that is the one that makes the difference in the education that we gain. So with that, like, just to end, one phrase that you would like to end based our discussion with today.
I think the one thing about education, you know, I know we use the word wisdom very often. We talked about building character very often. Is sometimes the things that we learn may not click today, but one day that aha moment will come through. And you know, sometimes we must not see education as just the classes, as not just the slokas or the stories, but every single experience that we went through is an opportunity for education. and we see everything as a learning opportunity, and we're always with our awareness sensors on. That means we always have this awareness sensors on that what, if I look at, why is Mithran going through this? That means I'm talking to myself, third party reporting, as you say, why is Mithran going through this? And we always ask this question when we are in trouble or in pain. We never ask it when we are getting, when I get something good, who remembers the altar when I get something good? After 15 minutes, Swami, thank you, Swami. But when it's you fail, Swami, why Swami? But but if we apply that same, and this comes with practice, right? That same reaction or emotion when we fail and when we succeed, that equilibrium, I think that's a key thing, that we use everything as a learning opportunity and always use this as an opportunity to ask, why is this happening to me? What is this learning opportunity for me? I think it helps us evolve through our journey.
Very good. So thank you so much, for spending your time here today, and thank you, Pradayini, on a Saturday morning. So with that, we would like to conclude this topic conclude our topic for today. End of education is character. Signing off. This is your host Triylocanan. See you soon in the next episode of Chai with Sai.
Salam.
Salam.